All right. We back again. Fuel of Crutch Podcast, Season 5, Episode 4. Let's talk about it. I'm going to give folks a chance to get in here. Today, like I said, all season, I'm bringing friends with me so we can have this conversation about education and thinking about it from the perspective of parental buy-in. How do we get our students to be more successful? Because again, it can't just be us. It can't just be them. It has to be a collective group unit. The kids are going to need certain supports. Parents are going to need certain supports as well. And again, we're coming today, like we've done all season, to have that conversation with just other professionals and parents that I've seen do a great job and have some tangible strategies that we could take away from this. And then we just dive into it. So without further ado, you know how we do. Intro drops. Yes, sir. Again, we're here, Fuel of Crutch Podcast, Season 5, Episode 4. And like I said, I'm bringing friends this season. And today we've got a very special guest, Dr. Jason McGhee. So I appreciate you taking time to join on. And, first of all, I know I said it to you before, but I want to make sure the listeners understand, like, me and Dr. McGhee just met a couple months ago, and I reached out to him and asked if he would be willing to chop it up with me for about 5 minutes. That 5 minutes turned into about an hour, and then we've just connected and trying to help make some other connections too. So please go ahead and just introduce yourself, give a little background, and then we'll dive into it.
Oh, man. Yeah. What up, man? I appreciate that because I had to remember, like, oh, you're absolutely right. We were supposed to talk for a few minutes. That jump turned to an hour, and now we're here. So thanks for having me on, man. My name is Dr. Jason McGhee. I hail from Detroit, Michigan. I currently live in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is about 2 hours away. And I grew up not even wanting to be an educator. Never thought about being a teacher, never wanted to do it. In fact, I was in the 6th grade when I realized that I did not want to be anything close to being in school. My 6th grade class was pretty rambunctious, and that was still during the time when we got paddled. So a couple of my friends got paddled, and I was like, look, I'm not doing that. But that changed. It changed along the way. So I'm from Detroit, Michigan, man. I went to school, Mumford High School.
Oh, wow.
You might know Mumford High School from the Eddie Murphy movies. He represented Mumford.
Listen, my dad's side of the family is from Detroit, and I almost moved with my dad while in high school, and I was supposed to go to Mumford. He was right on 6 Mile and Livernois.
Come on, man. Listen, I was on 6 Mile and Schaefer. So look how that connection is, man. It's crazy, and I didn't know that. Yep. Graduated, went to Michigan State University, and my major was computer engineering. I was computer engineering until I wasn't. I went to computer engineering. I went to engineering, computer science, engineering arts, graphic design, and then art education. I ended up graduating with a degree in art education and graphic design. And I was preparing myself to become a teacher. It's funny because all of my jobs that I had pretty much was working with kids. Starting at 14 years old, I did these summer jobs, and I worked with kids. And I went to Michigan State University, and I had a summer job where I worked with kids, and I was just really good at it. And it finally clicked junior year, double major in graphic design and art education, and go teach. And I did. So I went into teaching. I taught in Lansing Public Schools. I was teacher of the year my first year teaching, and I was laid off in the same celebratory meeting.
Wow.
So that was weird, but that's what it was. And because it was low seniority. I was low seniority, and I got bumped. So Went back, got my master's in education administration. Uh, I taught for 4 more years. Became an assistant principal after that. Um, Made my way to the elementary school as a head principal at an art school. So I was principal of an art school, and art was my background. It just worked out. We were the lowest
Oh, yeah.
performing school. I took the school to an international baccalaureate school in 6 years. I went on to become a high school principal, and I did that for a while until I took a sabbatical. And I took a year off, did some reflection, did some education policy work, and then I wrote a book. And when it was time for me to come back from my sabbatical, I decided to resign.
Okay.
And now I'm doing education differently. And I'm working with principals, I'm working with assistant principals, I'm working with deans, I'm working with leaders in organizations, nonprofit organizations, and I'm using food to help build these teams, help these teams reconnect. I'm helping them through conflict. I'm helping train them so that they can be supported and be the best for the teachers and the students and the families that's in their care. Principals and leaders, they need love, man. They need support, and I'm tasked to do that in this stage of my life. So that's where I am, up to date.
No, I love that. I love that. And we'll definitely tap into that a little bit more because I think, when we had that initial conversation, just learning about some of your experiences and how food played a major part in regulating yourself and then connecting with other staff members. I thought that was super dope.
Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit. So I know you said you more or less changed majors or combined the two over time. But when you were a kid, like what was it that your dream career or dream job was when you were a kid?
Man, when I go back and think about this, there were two jobs that I really wanted. All right, no, three. There were three jobs that I wanted. I said, when I grow up, I want to be an architect. That was the first one. I want to be an architect because they draw and they build things, and I was into those. I was into that, drawing and building things. So I'm like, I want to be an architect. Then it was like, oh, you know what? When I grow up, I want to be a motivational speaker. Like, I just want to be a motivational speaker. And, I was like, okay, you don't hear people from the hood saying that's what they wanted to be, but that's just what I wanted to be. And then when I became a little bit more sophisticated in my young age, I wanted to be a dad when I grew up.
Shout out to Michael Ford pulling
Mike
up.
Ford. Oh, what up,
Yeah.
y'all? I know Mike Ford. He knows my brother.
You know Mike?
He knows my brother. I met him, but he knows my brother, Terrence McGhee.
Oh yeah, Mike. I knew him and his wife from the D, and then they had moved to Madison, and I connected with them for some time while they were here before they headed out again. Look, small world,
bro. This is divine. This is divine. I'm with it. I'm with it.
Yeah, no, for real. This is where we're supposed to be. So it's funny that you say that about the motivational speaking piece, and not being from the hood and not hearing that, but those are usually where the stories come from, but people just don't necessarily have the foresight for that. Mm-hmm. So I hear you talk about that passion and love for art. Now, growing up, coming from communities that we come from, was that something that you were always cool about yourself being, or was it something that you had to navigate because, it ain't always the cool thing to be into art, especially growing up in our neighborhoods? Like it was basketball, it was football, it was getting into trouble. So like how was that navigating for you?
Man, so I used to teach myself how to draw. So we would go to the library a lot, which was around the corner from my house. And so we would be in the library and those how to draw books.
Yeah,
I love those. So I would just get those and I would skip the steps. They would always have the steps, like draw the head with a circle or an oval. I would go straight to the finished face and try to do the finished face.
Okay.
And so that was it for me. And most kids were cool with doing that. But I always wanted more. And the thing is, man, when I was in school, we had art classes until I got to high school, and I was tracked. So I couldn't choose art as some of my electives because I was in honors. I was in honors program.
Oh, okay.
They were like, oh, you can choose physiology and anatomy. You can do physics or STEM chemistry. You can choose from those, but you can't choose art. And I was like, why? So for me, it was something that it wasn't something I said out loud a lot. I drew the pictures. We all drew pictures, and I just kind of kept my love there. But then when I was in high school and I couldn't do it, I was like, oh man, there's no love. All right, forget it. Move on. That's why I majored in computer engineering when I got to college, because my art, dreams and fantasies were kind of shut down because I wasn't allowed to do it when I got of age to really build my skills.
Got you. Yeah, man, that's tough.
Oh,
So also thinking about it, when you were growing up and navigating school or whatnot, did you like school? I always just wonder if people like school because so many people just do it and get comfortable knowing like this is something that I have to do versus actually enjoying it. I think I was one of those roller coasters with a love-hate relationship with it. I loved it when I was super young. Then as I got a little older, trying to figure out where I fit in the world with peers and girls and sports that I kind of didn't, and I kind of like tried to dumb down my intelligence so I could fit in. So it's like just trying to figure out, like, for you, how was it?
Man, I did. No, I enjoyed school, but I enjoyed school for a particular reason. Number one, I was pretty good at it. I was always usually one of the smarter kids in the class, and I was okay with that. But I was also a people pleaser. So I knew that my grandmother valued school, my uncle valued school. He was about 11 years older than me, older than I was. And he went to private school. And he always got good grades. So they valued school. My mom valued school. And I knew that to be a good boy, I needed to do school well. And I loved their reaction to me when I did school well. So for me, it was about making sure they stayed happy. And like I said, I enjoyed it. I did. I enjoyed going to school. I loved going to school until I got a little bit older, and this is probably more so. I didn't enjoy middle school.
Okay.
Middle school was hard. I didn't enjoy middle school because it was just a tough transition. I mean, it was a lot happening. Puberty. It was. I was catching a bus 2 hours one way to school, and just the dynamics changed. The interaction with my peers changed. So I didn't care for school as a middle schooler. I mean, I tried to run away from home. My cousin was living with me, and he wasn't a school kid. Like he got suspended, got in trouble, and he lived with us for about a year and a half, 2 years. And it's funny because my grades started to go down and his grades started to go up. And I was like, I didn't like it. So 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, I could care less. But in 9th grade, I flipped the switch, and that switch has been on ever since. But
no, that's
dope. Kind of how my relationship was with school.
That's dope because middle school. It's weird because I actually loved middle school. I had a ball in middle school. Maybe too much fun at one point, but I did really well in school without necessarily putting too much work in. And then I do know that my grades started to dip as I got a little older because I was worrying about other things. But I was always had a competitive kind of like spirit as well too. So my mom knew what button to push. She was like, "Well, I bet you can't get a 3.5," and I was like, "Who can't?" And so it's funny because getting older and realizing I knew what she was doing, but I didn't know it then. But Michael got another one. He says, "You got the big homie on the chat. I remember him recording our games back in the day when I hooped in middle school. Love watching your journey, bro."
That's crazy because I did record those games at Bovian.
small world. For
you
sure.
Remember that? That's crazy work.
So when you were in high school, because you said you picked it back up, did you understand its importance like long term?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Stepping stone.
I did, and that was because of my uncle.
Okay.
So my uncle, again, he was 11 years ahead of me, older than me. So he was, he went to private school. He always had straight A's. I don't know him not to have, not had straight A's. But he was kind of setting a pace for us, and he ended up going to Notre Dame for undergrad. And on spring break, during my middle school years, I went and stayed with him twice, 2 or 3 times, where I stayed on campus for my entire spring break. So for a week, I was on Notre Dame's campus, hanging out, just in the dorms, in the residence halls, and the food, what do they call it? The cafeteria, the
Yeah.
cafeteria. And I was hanging out with. I didn't realize this. I knew they played football for Notre Dame. Rocket Ishmael, Jerome Bettis, Ricky Waters, LaFonso Ellis for the basketball team. They're coming in and out of the room. We were playing. They're pillow fighting with me. I'm hanging around these cats who are now Hall of Famers and famous retired NFL and NBA players. And I said, "Oh my goodness, I'm coming to college. Like, you can eat all the food you want. You need to go hoop and play, but you don't got that many classes." I was like, "Yeah, I'm doing it." So in the 9th grade, I got straight A's. And set my foundation for high school. My GPA was set really high because I had a 4.0 as a 9th grade.
That's dope because, and it's funny how everybody finds their carrot. For me, I didn't go that far, but I did get to hang out on University of Michigan's campus with my cousin because now they went to Crockett. So I ended up hanging out on UW Michigan's campus, but I spent so much time on University of Wisconsin's campus as a high schooler that I was like, oh yeah, I gotta get to college because I literally used to hang out with Ron Dane, Lee Evans, Chris Chambers, Wendell Bryant. When I was a little guy, Michael Finley, Tracy Webster, the guys that ended up playing in the league, kind of looked out for me and looked after me. So it was just like, oh yeah, I gotta go. I gotta go for the experience. And I think the only downside of me spending so much time on UW's campus when I was in high school was I had no desire to stay here to go. I knew I had to leave and see a different experience because I'm like, I already experienced the UW campus life. And so, but it was still that carrot to make sure that I did enough to give me the opportunity to go somewhere else to go have those experiences as well. So yeah. So did you have any struggles like while you were navigating? Like whether it was like, oh, you struggled with one particular class and you had to go seek tutoring, or maybe needed some guidance. I don't know what the home life was like, if it was mom and dad or just mom, or go into that a little bit if you can.
Yep. So yeah, the home life was interesting. It wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best either. We were pretty much my mom. It was my mom and my 3 brothers. We had my father wasn't in the picture. He left when I was, I believe, 3, and my second oldest brother is 3 years younger than me, and we have the same father. And then my youngest brother, who's 3 years younger than my middle brother, his dad was like our stepdad. My mom never married. They never married each other, but he was around. And so the thing was, man, we moved a lot. We moved around the city a lot. But the fulcrum was my grandmother. She stayed on 6 Mile. And so that was when things got tough, we would stay there for a couple months, and then we'll get another place to live. And then we just moved a lot. My mom worked at General Motors. Oftentimes she worked the second shift. So while we were in school, she'd be at home sleeping. And when we got home from school, she was leaving to go to work. So I had to grow up really fast. So I had to become like very aware. Like at 9 years old, I had to kind of be like, all right, I can't really be a kid. So what happened was, I had to stay in like this leader mode, be in charge mode. That's why my grades were really good in school, because I had a responsibility. And I told my mom that, yeah, I said, "Mom, I got your." She looked at me and was like, "Hey, I need your help. I can't keep paying these babysitters, and I need you to be able to." And I was like, "Don't say less. I got you." So I had to just be responsible, and I decided to be responsible at like 9. But the struggles came because, I was 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, and I had 2 younger brothers. These little lions, trying to find their way, and we beef, brother siblings, we beef and fighting. And I decided I wasn't going to fight them anymore. This is me being responsible. And they were like, "Oh, you a punk?" So they were always try to fight me, and I knew I could beat them, but I'm like, for what? Like, what are we going to fight for? It's just, so that was hard 2 years. But when it came to school, I didn't really start struggling until about junior year.
Okay.
Junior year. And I don't know, man. Trigonometry punched me in the face, and you know, we had calculus, and we had pre-calc, and my homeboys that I hung out with, we were smart kids, and so we would always compete with each other. Like if you got caught taking your books home, you got laughed at because you didn't catch it in class.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay.
if you
That's a
didn't
different.
catch it,
That's a different. Jokes or whatever the case is. But it's like still a level of pride. Like, oh, what you mean you ain't got it all figured out yet? You got to do it at home.
right, right. So my saving grace was that I had such a high GPA in ninth grade that even when my grade point average for the marking period might have gone down, I never got below a 3 point, but I wasn't getting the 4 points or 3.8s. I was getting like 3.4 and 3.2 sometimes. And but it didn't really hurt my GPA too much. So
Right.
when I
You laid
started
the
getting around
foundation down that first year.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I try to tell kids that like if you have a strong foundation, it's hard to really pull your GPA down unless you just totally like really just get F's on everything. But
No,
it's
that's
really
real.
hard to bring it up once it's low.
Once it's look, yeah.
It's almost
And
impossible.
I've been telling kids like starting out strong is going to be huge because everybody's gonna have a semester where they just have a struggle semester.
Mm-hmm.
But if you start strong, it won't you won't see it too much. But if you start bad, you can't have another one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
So it was that time for me, man. Around that time, it was like 10th, 11th grade. I started to, have some trouble, and that's only because I think I saw my father on the bus. I caught the bus home, and I saw my father, and I knew exactly who he was. Now, mind you, he was gone since I was 3. When I was on the bus and I saw that man, I saw him, and the thing is, he was coming to my grandmother's house because it was my birthday was around the corner. And he was coming to see us. He knew where we lived, and I saw him. And once we had that interaction, it just it messed me up for a minute, and I just wasn't really there at school like that because I'm thinking about all these different things. So that's when the hiccup came for me. It was because of something outside really impacted me.
So now that's that's how we turn in that ship just a little bit because so many of our kids in the schools, have certain traumas that exist that they don't know exist. They put on this facade that nothing's bothering them, and you'll ask them like, "What's going on?" Or "Let me ask you about this," and they'll be like, "No, I'm good," and it's killing them on the inside. Like, so how did you, navigate that? Was it maybe using some art as an outlet, or just how did you maneuver that so that way you could get back on the right track?
Man, that's a good question. I don't even know if I thought about it. I think that's one of the things I packed away. But I do know that I couldn't deal with it as much as I wanted to because of how it impacted my younger brother. And my younger brother, he never had a relationship with him, right? Like at all. So he's showing up, and I'm watching. It's my birthday, so he's showing up. He didn't bring us anything. He didn't bring me anything, but he showed up and was like, "I know it's your birthday, hey." And my brother's sitting there looking like, "How you gonna show up for him? You never showed up for me." And so now I'm wondering if he's resenting me. My brother's resenting me and him because he's showing up for me. And like, what am I doing to get him to come? And he can't get him to come. So me being big bro, I'm like, how can I take care of him? So
In
I
this
think for
moment,
me, yeah, I just packed it away, man. And it was like, all right, I gotta put all my energy on making sure he's good. And I'm gonna put all my energy in making sure my mom's good. I'm gonna put all my energy in making sure my grandma's okay. And I'm not gonna do anything that's gonna put any stress on them. They don't have to worry about me at all. And so that was kind of like, all right, let me get myself together and just make sure I'm good so that everybody else is good. And I just had to forget about me and how I felt about it. So did I ever get through it? No, I
was about to say, now that you are where you are, do you think that you've processed or dealt with some of it since?
I have in a lot of different ways. Yeah, I have. I think I'm better for it. But again, I told you the number 3 thing that I wanted to when I grew up, it was to be a dad. Right. That was my number 3 thing. So of course my thought was like, all right, I want to do everything that he didn't do. I'm gonna do the opposite of what he did. And anything he told me as advice, I was like, it's wrong because he's a liar. So anything he says is wrong, and everything he said wasn't wrong, but that's what I did. Yeah, I have processed it. And hey, Jamal, can I tell you this, man? I had an epiphany the other day. Now I'm 45 years old, and I was talking to my kids, and I was like, "Yeah, Thanksgiving's coming up, and you know, you're gonna see your grandparents and all that stuff." And I paused for a second, and I started getting emotional. And the kids were like, "What's wrong, Dad?" And I was like, "You know what? I just realized something." I said, "I never had a grandfather." And he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "No, no, no, no." I said, "I never had a grandfather. Like there was no grandfather there. Like my mom's dad was an alcoholic. I didn't meet him until it was his funeral. When I met him, he was dead. That's when I first laid eyes on him. And I was like, oh, okay. My father's father, I have no clue who he is. Never met him. I've never had a grandfather like
that you could interact with.
I never had an elder. Like it wasn't so I have an uncle, my great uncle Sonny has always been, I guess in my mind, he served as my elder. But he was my great uncle. He was my grandmother's brother. So I'm like, I never had a grandparent. I had one grandma. Like that's it. And so that hit me, man, probably about less than a month ago. And I'm still pontificating on that. I'm still thinking through that. I'm still processing that. So yes, I've gotten through it, but then it's like I'm learning too.
Yeah, it's never ending.
It's not linear. Like the grief that we go through is not linear, man. This junk is cyclical, and it winds and it comes in and out.
It comes in waves. Yep.
Yeah, I'm learning that. So I've gotten through it. I've dealt with it. I wrote about it in my book to a point. But I still go back and it's part of this building. It's part of the journey, man. It's still part of the journey.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. Now you spoke on your desire to be a father. You said you got 3 children, or at least that's what you told me off camera. So you got 3 kids. So when you and your wife got together, now was the first one planned, or it just happened? Because now this question is going somewhere, because I wanted to see, like, when you start having the conversations about how life as parents are going to be, like certain parenting styles, certain way we're going to raise, certain things we want them to see and expose. So like that's where it was kind of going. So were y'all intentional with it from sounds bad, conception to where they are now?
No, I get where you're coming from. So you're good. Yeah. No, we were. We knew what we were doing. When we got married, when we were dating, she was like, "Yeah, I think I want 4 kids." I was like, that's cool. I kind of want 3, but that's because that's what I knew. My homeboys down the street from us, it was 5 of them. I was like, that's a lot. 4 seems a little bit too much. 2, 3, I think we can handle. So yeah, our firstborn, it was definitely planned. We worked it out. We were trying to figure it out and make it happen. And he graced us. He graced the earth with his presence, like he'd been here before. This dude came in. He was a baby. He just seemed so ahead of his time. And to this day, he's still like that. And I'm like, dude, you've been here before. Who are you? Like,
he was making room for the others.
Yep. So here's the thing. When he was born, my daughter was born a few years after that. And when she was born, I was like, I no longer want 3. We have 2. I'm set. I'm looking at my wife. She looking at me. I'm like, you still want 4? I don't remember what her response was, but I'm like, I think we're good with 2. So for me, I was like pumping the brakes, like, we good. And but our third one was kind of a like, what? Like when she showed me she was pregnant, I was like, what you showing me that for? Like, I know good and well you're not pregnant. Like, why are you showing me that? Could not believe we was having another one. But I'm really grateful that he's here and he's part of our family. But when she showed me that stick, I was like, what are we doing?
Is this a joke? What's going on?
I really thought she was pranking me. I thought Ashton Kutcher was gonna jump out the back like, ha ha. But no, he's here. Carter was born.
So now when you're thinking of it from the parent perspective, like, how are your kids with school? Because we know you can have kids with the same parents in the same household and all of them be different.
That is our story. 1,000%. 1,000%. My oldest Jason is he's very much an introvert.
Okay.
And he's very smart, but he's very intuitive, and but he can be very quiet, and he just marches to the beat of his own drum. Um, and when it comes to school, we didn't realize that. So this is interesting. So I've always struggled with the whole premise and notion of ADHD, especially in
Hmm.
schools, especially with black boys. Because I, as a principal, man, I sat in these meetings where all these teachers felt like they had the either the know-how, the power, the training to say which kids had ADHD and which ones didn't. Like
Mm.
they were issuing out these different, diagnoses on these kids. I'm like, that's not your area. You are not. I don't care what you think. Read saw on the internet does not mean that you can say that these kids. So I watched all these boys get IEPs based on ADHD, based on conversations we're having as a team, trying to figure out strategies to help support these kids. So this overdiagnosis was big to me, and I'm like, now there were a few kids where I was like, there's absolutely something there. We
Hmm.
need a professional, but I'm telling you, it is probably that. But it wasn't every kid who stood up and didn't want to sit down and wasn't paying attention. It wasn't every black boy that was
Right.
coming to the table. Every 4 or 5 weeks, we get a new crop of black boys coming through saying they have ADHD. Put them on an IEP.
And
So,
and then the label that they end up with, I'm sure they ended up with the EBD,
mm-hmm, yep,
which with the same kid with the exact or same another kid in a different race, particularly white, would have the exact same symptoms, and he's OHI.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And
yep,
and
yep.
then just us having our backgrounds or whatever. When I finally got to working in higher ed and realized that EBD was the one disability that doesn't get supported at that next level when it came to having accommodations, I was like, oh, that's a problem. Because again, we all know that our black boys are overrepresented in EBD, and that's the group that's not going to get supported, but OHI will.
We might call it something that what is EBD? Unpack that one.
Emotional behavioral disorder.
Oh, got you. Okay, yep, yep. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yep. We call it a little bit something different here, but it's very similar.
But
Okay,
the same, yeah. And
yeah.
so, that's when I had to put a pause on, and I had to make sure, I started going back to the schools that I worked in, or some of the special ed teachers that I had worked with before. I was like, hey, we got to stop this because we thought that they were going to get support when they got to that next level. They will not.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so,
So yeah, yeah. So when my son, man, going through school, and as he, went from grade to grade, I just started noticing things, and I'm like, man, what is going on? Um, we got to
my
unpack
bad,
those. We got to unpack those those
my bad.
acronyms. I know I'm usually pretty good about that. But yeah,
EBD is emotional behavioral disorder. OHI is other health impairment. And I'm pretty sure we all know what ADHD is. So yeah,
uh,
go ahead.
yep, yep. So he was struggling in school a little bit. He was struggling with his social interaction and his executive functioning. And I'm like, okay, so we got him tested, and they were like, yeah, he has this emotional, executive functioning, and he's showing some strong symptoms of attention hyperactivity deficit disorder. So I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, I don't want to subscribe to that, and I don't want him to use it as a crutch. I let's power through it. And when I started watching him more, now mind you, I'm a principal and he's a student in my school,
Mm.
so I got eyes on him, I got teachers on him, and that's a whole conversation in and of itself as well. But we ended up giving him a 504 plan. 504 plan. And I hope people are familiar with the 504 plan. So he didn't necessarily qualify for an IEP, an individualized education plan. He didn't qualify for that, but he was able to receive accommodations to kind of help him along with his work. He got extended time on test. He was able to go to a different room to be able to reduce the distractions. He has these things that teachers can implement in their daily lesson plans to be able to help accommodate some of the things that might be something for him that will cause him to not complete work, not being organized, not getting things done. So he has a plan that kind of helps him stay, in line with his education, his studies. And I didn't want to admit it. Then I started looking back at my life, like, you know what? I suffer from a lot of the things that he currently deals with. I just learned how to manage it. I figured out how to manage it. But to this day, I still struggle with my executive functioning. I still struggle with my focus and attentiveness. To this day, I know how to cope, though.
Right. Yeah. We created coping mechanisms and strategies. Yeah. Yep.
If I had some assistance and some strategies back then, when I started struggling in my trigonometry class, I may have been able to turn the corner way faster when it came to those subjects where when I got overwhelmed, it was too much and I just tapped out. I could look at a lesson plan on the board, like what we're doing today. And if it was too much, my brain would be like, let's go do art.
That overwhelming and overstimulated feeling. Yep.
Come on, I still deal with that to this day. Right. So I didn't want that for my son, but it was the biggest thing that has helped him navigate school is getting him on that plan and then being in conversation and communication with his teachers on the regular. Because even in my school, when I was the principal, he was falling through the cracks. And I was there. So we had to really flip the game and switch it up for him.
That's good. That's one of those gems that the parents need to know. Communicate with the teachers on a regular.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's what my wife and I did. We were tag team, and we were going to school. So we switched him out of the public. We took him out of public school because he kept falling through the cracks. And I was like, wow, I got to take him out of my school district, and we put him in private school. And so when we go to our meetings at the private school, I'll be telling my wife, hey, listen, we're about to meet with these people. All right, don't tell them I'm an educator. All right, let's just keep it cool because I know a lot of the stuff that's going on. Man, we would be in the meeting. And we 5 minutes in, my wife would be like, and my husband, he is an educator, he's the principal, and he knows. And I'm like, hey, you messing up our trump card. Like, you messing it up. But we were definitely a team going into it, and that sustained, all of our kids. Us being on the same mind frame and approaching school the way that we approach school. She approaches it a lot differently than I do. But when we come together, it's like Voltron, and we are able there to support our kids in the way they need to be supported with both of us. And my wife's a doctor too. She's an MD. Okay. I'm an EDD, and we both come to the table. I'm Dr. McGhee, and we let it know. We let it know from the front that, hey, this is who you're dealing with. So don't come at us sideways, or don't come at us with that weak stuff. Right. And I'm in the school, so I know. So just make sure you come correct. I just didn't want them to really know off the front. I wanted to hold that in my back, but she wouldn't let me.
Right. Just to make sure, like, hey, don't try and get one over on us, because I'm gonna put out some language that you're gonna be like, uh-oh, he know more than I thought.
Yeah. So whenever we have meetings now, the principals always come. I'm like, y'all don't have to be here. I get it. So yeah, man.
So I want to kind of shift a little bit just for more of I guess from your professional experience before we get into kind of what you do now as an educational consultant. But so from a question that I came up with today was, from your professional experience, what separated families where students thrive from those where their students might have been struggling?
Good question, man. This is something that I usually was spot on as a principal, being in the schools and being able to just watch kids come into the school, watch them navigate, watch them at recess, watch them at lunch, watch them in the classroom. I could usually always tell the students who were of high academic prowess and those who struggled. And the baseline was usually that both of their parents were active in their lives. Usually. Now, you had some superstars who might have come from a single parent home who are doing the thing. right? But you got to dig a little deeper to find out that that's the case. But the ones who had both their parents, they usually stood out and were pretty strong academically. They were thriving because they had both their parents. Or if they didn't have both their parents, they had a strong village around them.
The community. Okay.
Yep, they had a village. And if it was a single mom or a single dad, grandma might have been coming to school picking them up, auntie, and they're all on the list as you can sign out. You know, we had at the school, you know, you have to have emergency contacts that can actually take the kids out. They had all that stuff filled out. They had a whole team. Pick up and drop off was a cinch. They weren't left after school for long or dropped off way too early because they had a village, man. And those were the ones who were able to thrive typically. But then you had those cases where the student struggled. It might be mom who has a job at the same time school starts. So she's wanting something before school to be able to have her child go to. So she's not late and she's not getting her points. She's getting these points now because her job's saying she's late and she gets so many points, she's going to lose her job. They're struggling a little bit more. That was always the baseline, you know? And then you had those in between who, you know, who would thrive or who struggle, even though they had their parents, you know. But that's not always something you see right off the bat. That comes from digging and seeing patterns of behavior.
But that comes with care. That comes with care. That comes from, like, you know, taking the time to get to know. And I don't know if that's always the case at every school. And I know that you would probably agree that that's not always the case, that there's a strong care team surrounding all kids.
Yeah. You don't have the privilege to do that, especially teachers. I say that about teachers. They have the kids in their care a lot and for a long time. But you know, you're looking at the content in which they have to teach and manage and do all the things. They might not be able to get as close as support staff might. You know, some support staff members get a chance to have one-on-one time with them, talk to them about things. They might share things with the support staff that they want with their teacher because this is a person who's not as familiar with them. So that's kind of a weird thing too, where they'll talk to people who don't know them that well and give out way more information than somebody that really knows them. You know, because kids are smart. They'll know, like, all right, this person my teacher might have to write a report if I say something. Right, where I can kind of talk around it to this person who doesn't, you know, they're not biased. Yeah, and I can kind of let a couple things out. So that's a thing too. You're right. It's the relationship and what that looks like with the kid. But as a principal, yeah, we get a chance that we're privy to so much information, and sometimes it's hard to get that information to the teachers so that they know, and it just creates this difference in a relationship that teachers can have, because sometimes it works the opposite. Teachers have a lot of information that we don't, because they tell them and we don't spend as much time with them. So it works both ways. It really does. You know,
I got you. Another one that I had somebody reach out knowing that this was coming. What's the biggest misconceptions parents have about their role in their child's education?
That their role is way more important than they think. I think that especially the older their children get, the older that your child gets, and the when they go from elementary school to middle school to high school, they need you more when they're in high school and middle school than they do when they're in grade school and elementary school. They really do. Go ahead.
Did you read Dr. Juanza Kanjufu?
I have.
So that makes sense, that your thought process. I read that Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys, and he talked about why do we more or less take our foot off the gas with our kids? Like, we're super hands-on when they're younger, but then as they get to the high school age, we kind of let them figure it out on their own. He's like, no, that's the time we need to be the most hands-on, because we're about to prepare to let them go into the world that will feast on them.
Eat them alive, devour them. And as they're learning how to make decisions from their options, making choices, like they need, and they're developing, and life gets weird when they turn like 12. Once they start going through puberty, man, life starts to look different, feels different, it smells different, things taste different, and then we're like, yeah, go ahead and figure it out. Let the schools do it.
Let the
You get to
schools
high school. Yeah, let the
let you
schools
figure
do
it
it. They
out on your
got it.
own.
You about to be grown, and when you
Learn, make your
18,
own mistakes. No, we got to coach them.
when you 18, listen, the frontal
Off
lobe
to
is
the
not
wolf. No,
developed.
yeah, we got to coach them.
The frontal lobe is not developed until they're 26, roughly. So, I mean, even I think there's even something to say as 18 going to college, you still have to have some kind of tether because again, they're not fully developed here yet. And that's neuroscience, man. That's neuroscience. So the older they get, the more they need their parents in their lives, man. And that was one of the things that caused me to take a sabbatical and take this year off, take a year off to kind of reestablish where I am with my kids because I was running the whole high school, and my
Right.
kids were in high school, middle school, and elementary at the time, each of them, and I was so busy with my high school that I was kind of looking at them as an afterthought.
Right. Okay.
And they
Yeah,
need
that
me
makes sense.
now. They need me now. They need their parents now more than ever because they're making some major decisions. They're going through things socially, emotionally. They need their parents now way more than they did when they were in elementary school.
And they'll learn, and they'll understand as they get older, and they'll thank us for it too, for being hands-on as much as they want us to let go of the rope so they can go and make mistakes. No, that's not what we're gonna do. Comment was these poor teachers are regulating behaviors more than teaching right now because parents are slacking at home, getting these babies business and stay up in it. No, that's real.
Yep.
Yeah, they
Priyanka
just
is on them.
they need the real time coaching. Like, yes,
Mhm.
they're going to make mistakes. Yes, they're they're going to try to make decisions on their own. But if they're making the
Mhm.
wrong one, you got to coach them. If they're making a mistake, they got to learn from it. Otherwise, they're gonna keep repeating it. So that's
Yeah.
huge. I agree, and that's why reading Dr. Jonathan Kanjufu, I knew you had to have rest in peace to him. But
Yeah.
for sure, he was somebody, and it was cool. I got a chance to meet him and actually introduce him as a speaker.
Oh, that's dope. I had a chance to meet him. I sat next to him and talked to him, but I never had a chance to introduce him. That's
Yeah,
amazing, man.
we got to sit down and talk, and I got to know him a little bit, and then get a chance to introduce him as a speaker. So it was super cool. Got a signature and everything on the books.
Oh, that's
Um, so one last one before we pivot, because I want you to talk about your experience as a administrator and like the food thing and how that came about. But so the last question is, how can parents effectively advocate and communicate for their child without being that parent that they always worry about, that schools dread see coming? Or is that just a part of standing up for your kids' education? Like sometimes, hey, you just got to be the bad guy if that's the way you view it.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, I think they have to. You have to be that person at the end of the day. But it works both. It works two ways. One, yeah, you have to be their advocate to a high degree. You have to be their advocate. But at the same time, you also have to understand and understand and overstand that the school is not going to do everything that they need for your child. They're not. We have to find ways to enrich the curriculum that the school has, um, provide co-curricular activities, put them in things and organizations, and expose them to things that the school is not going to do. They're just not. The schools can't. I mean, yes, they're with them for 6-7 hours a day, absolutely. But the way it's designed, they can't. Especially in the system that the American public school system, you're not going to get everything. I don't care about the American private school system or independent school system or Christian or Catholic school system. You're not going to be able to get everything. What are your values and your beliefs and what you care about most? And how can you help instill that into your child? So you have to supplement a lot of the education. This is work. So when you have kids, it's like it's a serious situation that you are embarking upon. You have to find ways to supplement. And a lot of people think that they can just put it all in the school and they're going to get it all from the school. They're not.
Work
They're
that way.
not. I mean, look at Black history. How much Black history, bro? I went to school in Detroit. I went to mostly predominantly Black schools. Not all the teachers were predominantly Black, but the schools were. And yes, we learned some stuff, but I didn't really learn my history until I got to college at Michigan State University.
And you likely probably went and sought it out.
Say it again.
You likely sought it out. Like once you got exposed to certain stuff, you started searching for more.
Yeah, yep, you're right. And then it started attracting itself to me, right? So it's the same thing. So yes, you be an advocate for your child, but also be a supplement too, because the things that they're not getting, don't go going off on the teacher or the principal or the school district, going to the board meeting. You can. We need more African American study classes. We need more Latinx classes. Yeah, you probably do. But as a parent, you got to find ways to get them to participate in activities outside of school that might enrich those experiences and those learnings that they need. So
it's the and. You just can't leave it all on one. Nope, and it's
okay.
and. But you also, so it's not just being that parent. Sometimes it's communicating, advocating, but doing it in an appropriate manner. You just can't go in there hot and expecting somebody to really want to engage with you when everybody is supposed to be here to support the child.
Yeah, but I get it. There are those times when, harm has been done and wrongdoing has been done, because there are a nice handful of teachers wherever you want to go that might say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, man, that's gonna piss a parent off. It's happened with my kids.
I was gonna say, I know, just now as we're about to pivot to the work you do, you probably see it now more on the other side as you're working with more districts. So go ahead and share what you're doing, what you're working on, but talk about how how it happened, like the food part. That was the most interesting part to me.
Yeah. So when I was a principal, man, we were doing these things called restorative practices. Are you familiar with restorative practices?
Yep.
Yeah. So we're doing restorative practices, part of our positive behavior intervention and supports. They call it PBIS. Where you're starting to really focus on the positive behaviors in the school and not so much the negative behaviors, because teachers, principals can't get inundated with the negative behaviors, and rightfully so. But PBIS, this positive behavior movement, allowed us to start saying, hey, how do we recognize those who are doing the right thing and giving them some attention and giving them some love because they're doing the right thing? And with that was this idea that, how do we start reducing suspensions, especially among our Black boys in these schools and our students that have who receive special education services? How do we reduce that? Because it's an overwhelmingly disproportionate number of Black kids being suspended in these schools. The numbers are crazy, and I get why it happens. So we started restorative practices, but we started, when harm happened, how do we come to the table and start having conversations about what's happening? Start teaching the kids to converse or communicate, and let's right the wrong or fix the harm that was done and find ways to move forward without just suspension. So as a Black man principal, ultimate decision maker in the building, I'm not suspending a bunch of kids. That's not how I am anyway. That's not how I am with my own kids. I'm more of a restorative practices kind of guy. So when I would have restorative circles or restorative meetings with two boys who might have been roughhousing on the playground, but teachers saw it as a fight, when they were just roughhousing and pushing each other around, or maybe a couple blows got thrown, right? He hit me and I hit him back, and they need a 5-day suspension. And I'm like, no, they don't. Let's find out what's going on. Teachers got upset with me because I was doing these restorative circles and restorative practices, and so what I would do is, I got to a point when I was having these conversations and rectifying the wrong, I would bring food. I order pizza, especially if it was a big deal. I bring pizza, I bring chips, some hot Cheetos, some Takis, some water, some bananas. Don't think that I had no bananas and oranges and things like that too. I did. I had both. And we would have conversations, and it was amazing to see how quickly cats would stop fighting each other or arguing or even being mad when they had food. It just changed the conversation and made it so much easier. So much so that I did it at parent meetings, when parents would be calling like, well, you hit my kid and I want to meet with the mom. And I'm like, oh, if you want to, we can make it happen. I didn't run away from that smoke. Even my supervisors would be like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have parents come in discussing stuff. They get crazy. I'm like, man, they can do it with me. I got them. And I was almost always successful in bringing people down, de-escalating. But I would bring food. And I also did it with my teachers because teachers beef with each other too. And so when they're beefing, they come to me, I bring food and we're having a conversation. And it just brought the barriers down. So I was on to something. At least I thought I'm on to something. And so when I got to the point where I took my sabbatical, I was getting ready to resign from being the principal. Man, we had came back from COVID. We were just trying to build back up from being out of school to coming back into school. People were disengaged. It was very high. Teachers weren't as innovative in their classes. It was a bunch happening. And AI came on the scene. And I'm like, how do I lead? And I didn't know how to lead and run the school at the same time, but lead my teachers and my community forward with where education is going, because I can see things changing. But we have to be on the front of this change. So I'm like, how do I lead in that? So I had to take a step back and go back to the lab and figure it out. So I started doing education policy. I did a fellowship. I wrote a book during my sabbatical. And when I was done with my sabbatical, I made the decision not to return back into the building as an educator. Yeah, Monty, you're right. Breaking bread is never a bad thing.
Right.
Never a bad thing. So I'm on this journey now saying, how do I help the educators reflect? How do I help them recalibrate? How do I help them collaborate so that they can collaborate? Because they got to take care of the babies in our schools, man. And people are leaving education in droves, man. So it's like, you know, I struggle with it because being a principal, being an educator was my ministry, man. So to walk away from it, I felt like I was giving up on the kids. I was giving up on the teachers. I was giving up on the community. So I thought that for a while. And sometimes I hear that voice, like, you should go back. They need you. And I'm like, they do, but they also need me in this capacity as well. Right.
And it sounds like you pivoted in a way that was more impactful for you, for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Because I had to really look at my talents and my strengths and say, how can I best be? Who do I need to be a leader in this space? And honestly, I mean, it was great being a principal, but for me, it was only for a season. And it was hard for me to realize that because I'm very loyal to what I do. Like once I start, I'm not going to stop until, I don't know, I'm done. You know, so for me to stop and pivot was very mature of me. Very difficult for me, but it was definitely something I was supposed to do. And I knew it once, even when I became a teacher, I knew that I wasn't going to be a teacher forever. I wasn't going to be an educator in the schools forever because I know how I am. I'm creative, but I can also be a principal. Like I use both sides of my brain, but what I bring to the table has to be very unique and different. I was an art teacher, man. I was teacher of the year my first year. Like I something I brought to the table or that I bring to the table is very special. And I have to exude in that specialness. And being a principal, yes, for the time, that's what I was supposed to do. The shift is here now. So I have to shift and morph and change into what I'm supposed to be next. And it's this iteration of myself that's starting to flourish. It's where I take food and watch this. The reason food is a thing is because I don't do my art anymore. So my art is my food now. When I cook, when I create dishes, this is how I do art now. But I also serve in this capacity because when I cook for people, man, I am serving you. When I was bringing food to these kids, I'm serving them. Now it's just different because I'm doing the cooking now. It's not like I'm ordering the pizza. I'm making something special for you so that you can enjoy this, indulge in it, and now you're prepared to have the conversation we need to have, the courageous conversation, the conversation about emotions and leadership, the conversation about spirit and divinity in your practice. Let's talk about it.
So talk about that, because when you told me that you have those leadership teams that you probably contract with and you go through those conversations, but you do it in the course of like a 3-course meal. Break that down, because I thought that was like one of the dopest things outside of how you just foreshadow with the food and it opening up to breaking bread and having those tough conversations.
Yeah, man. So I I cook these 4-course meals, and each course we tackle a topic or a leadership struggle with each course. So you bring out the appetizer. I introduce the appetizer like a chef's table. I tell you the story behind how I created it. This is the art piece. This is the food piece, because I'm a foodie too, man. So the food, the art, and then it's like now, after that's done, you're eating, but we're talking about the particular issue that your leadership team might be struggling with or going through, or the conflict that has happened. The principal has been very authoritarian. He's not listening to people. And now I need that assistant principal to tell your principal that you are struggling because they're not willing to listen. They're not willing to slow down. They're not willing to have a conversation. But now we're going to do it. And I'm going to facilitate it because I know the pain point. I know what it's like. I know when I was running the show and I wasn't listening to my team because one, it was all on me. Y'all don't know the pressure I have, but at the same time, I'm trying to get us to the promised land so that we can win. I ain't got time for the little stuff you're talking about, but you are a person of value and you on my team, and I got to help you become the best version of you. So I do need to listen to you. But when are we going to have that conversation? When? We too busy. We too stressed out. We too much running around. It's too much. I'm creating a pathway, a space, so that we can have these conversations that are uncomfortable. So we're using food to make that happen. So each course is a different topic. I can do it with training, and I'll use whatever it is. We'll use 4 things. So there's a conversation with the leader that's in charge to say, hey, what does your team need so that we can make this happen? Because once you guys are well, working together, healed, now when the teachers are coming to you, you're open and ready to serve them in a way better way than you were before. Right. So it looks like that. And it's over 4 courses. And so it's a good time, or it could be celebratory. You need to take care of your leadership team because they didn't had your back for all school year, and you haven't found a way to really support them or give them something that's going to be of value. You should do something like this that's going to help that team, feel valued. Right.
And re-energize, replenish.
Come on, man. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
No, I like that. So Monty put in a comment. He said, talk about your leadership journey. How did you go through the decision process to leave the classroom?
All right, Monty. So check it out. So the classroom part was probably a little bit easier, only because, there were some cats who saw my genius as a teacher. And when I was in the classroom, I had already had my certification to be an administrator. I don't use the word administrator. I don't subscribe to it. I'm more of a leader. But you have to be able to do both. You have to be able to be a leader and be an administrator because you got to manage things as well. But anyway, I had my certification. And so when my assistant principal at the time, when he got promoted to become a principal, he needed an assistant principal. He came to me and said, hey, I need an assistant principal, and I want you to do it. But if you don't have your credentials, there's nothing I can do, but I want you to be my assistant principal. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I got my credentials. I had it. I was just sitting on it. And that's how I made the transition. Now, was it hard? Absolutely. Because I was in my gift. I was good. I was perfect. I was straight. But I also knew that I can have a bigger impact if I became a leader in the building. I can not only impact my classroom, I can do the whole school and work with the parents. So I was like, oh, it's like a bigger reach. So let me go ahead and explore that. And that's how I left the classroom. But to leave the principalship after doing it for 15 years, that was hard. But
it sounds the same.
Yeah.
Instead of you working with that one building, you're working with multiple buildings, multiple school districts in a way that's reaching more than just that singular building that you were in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the thought of it too. Like, because I feel like I know, I'm not gonna say I feel like I know that I'm special. I know that. And so yes, there are other people that need some of this energy too, outside of just this building. Because I put it in my book. In my book, I'm like, man, I'm trying to spread my wings, but I can't really fly. I have the ability to fly, but I don't. I'm like an ostrich or something like that. I can fly, but I don't, because ostriches, they don't fly at all, I don't think, because they just run. But I couldn't spread my wings because I'm in the building. What if I got out of the building and I can jump off the roof and go to a different building and go to a different district and go to a different state, go to a different country and working with educators? I just came back from Costa Rica doing some education work. If I was a principal, I wouldn't be able to go there and do that. I was in schools in Costa Rica, talking to principals, talking to kids, looking at policy. Right? If I was in a
internationally known Dr. Jason McGhee.
I'm working on it, man. I'm working on it.
I love that though.
But yeah, man, it was hard. It was hard to leave, but I had to follow the purpose, the mission, and even though I wanted to stay as a principal, I wanted to because it was working. I was building. I was onto something. I know what it looks like because I took a school from the bottom 5% to international baccalaureate. I know when I'm on to something, it just takes a minute sometimes. And I was getting there, and then it was time for me to go. God was like, "You gonna be obedient or you not? It's up to you." But I'm telling you, you know what to do. So when you ready, you let me know. I'm gonna wait. Then my kid came to me and was like, "On count day." I was buying candy bars for the whole school, and they were with me. My youngest one said, "Dad, are those candy bars for us or your other kids?" And when he said that to me, man, I was like, "What you mean my other kids?" He said, "No, he was like, no, he didn't say this, but he's looked at me and said, you know what I mean? Like, don't get it twisted. We know you busy. We got your back. We understand. And you got to take care of these kids, but those are your other kids. Right. So let me know when you got time for us." That's what I heard.
and that makes the decision a lot easier.
Yep. So I was like, yeah, I gotta dip out. So I got God on one side saying, you need to be obedient. And my kids saying, hey, when you gonna love on us? You are our dad first.
And which was also a priority for you. You said that's what you wanted. That's what you wanted to do. So yeah, it only made sense that the decision was made for you. You just had to walk into it.
I just had to be the one to do it, because when he said that, I looked back at God. God was like, "Bro, I already told you. Look at me. You got to do it."
But it takes a level of confidence. It takes a level of comfortability, and it also takes some planning, because you just can't go cold turkey and not have everything ready, because there's financial implications and all types of other stuff. You got to have the conversation with your wife too.
Correct. And it was decent. It was smooth. I mean, it worked, but don't think it wasn't a walk in the park either, because when I first did it, it was like, yo, you're on a sabbatical and you're not getting a check and you don't have healthcare. Like, we don't have healthcare anymore. We got to get our different healthcare. So it's like, when things are gonna pop. And I'm like, I'm in these fellowships. I was back in school for a year technically. So she's like, when is it gonna pop? I'm like, but I'm in school. And she was like, yeah, but we still gotta eat. Like, so it's not for the faint of heart, man. But
entrepreneurship is not easy.
And I'm learning that, bro.
It's a grind.
Yeah, you looking at it on Friday, you're a principal, that check still come in there. It don't matter if you got cussed out, you got hit in the head, you broke up fights, you tore up your suit, your check will be there. This ain't that.
No, it ain't just 9 to 5 neither. It might be you can't sleep at 1:30 in the morning. You got to get up and get it out. It might be a whole new lesson plan that you done created for professional development for a school that you ain't even been to yet.
Yep, you are absolutely correct. Because that's what I'm doing. When we're done, I watch a movie with my wife, and I'm probably gonna get up and get ready for this PD I gotta do in Arkansas.
So that kind of transition into where we going now. Like, what's next for you?
Yep, man, I'm waiting. I just finished my book. I finished the manuscript. I'm getting ready to get it formatted and edited. And hopefully, man, I appreciate that. So that should be coming out. It's called Selfish Leadership. The ongoing journey of social emotional leadership.
I like it.
Yeah. So that should be. I want to come on.
Make sure when you drop it, you got to send me a link.
Oh, come on! It's trust and believe. I will make that happen. I'll make that happen. So that, and I'm cooking. I started my cooking. My cooking leadership workshop development process. It's called Supper Club Magnanimous. Now, this operates in two different ways: through events, because I do this with people too, not just leaders and administrators and
Okay.
leaders of I do events for people. I only cook for 12 people at a time.
Okay.
So I'll do an event. It's 12 people. You get on my list. I pick you. You show up. You pay the fee, and we're gonna have a 4-course meal with 4 topics for each meal. And we're gonna. It's about reigniting the human connection, reviving relationships because we are becoming more disconnected with each other. And I think that moving forward, that one of the things we're going to crave more than anything is human connection. Because we can do so much with AI and tech. We can do so much with it. And it's great to a high degree. But we're never going to be able to down, or tech is not going to be able to replace human connection.
Not at all.
So with the Supper Club Magnanimous, you get a chance to eat really good food, really exciting, elevated, familiar food that's not mundane and it's not ordinary. But it's familiar to you. It's elevated and creatively crafted. And then you're going to engage in conversation with people you might know, people you might not know. And it's going to be a phenomenal experience that's not like a restaurant. It's not like being at home. It's a different type of vibe. But I'm also doing that in workshop form with leaders, principals, nonprofit leaders, leadership teams. And we're tackling 4 topics in your leadership team so that we can help you guys get better, right? Help you refocus, recalibrate. We want you to collaborate, but we want to use food to make sure we bring you guys together to see you outside of the work environment, the school, see who you are as a human and connect a little bit differently, but using food to be that conduit to let down the barriers, let down the boundaries so that you can let people in to see who you divinely are as a human being. And we use that to connect so that we can go out and love on our kids and love on our families and love on our communities. That's how I'm doing it, man. And I'm just changing lives. I'm a professional life changer, man. That's what I am, a professional life changer. I'm going to change your lives in a very professional way. I'm going to show up with a bow tie, more than likely. I'm going to serve you with the highest etiquette and fanciness, but at the same time, it's going to be grounded in something that's great. And you're going to feel your spirit be full physically, but your spirit's going to be full as well, man. And so you're going to leave a better person than you came. That's the goal.
And you I know you're in Grand Rapids, but are you traveling to do this? Or are you planning or willing to travel to do this as well?
I am. I just got an inquiry the other day. Like, will you come down here and do it in Kansas? I'm like, okay, I got to figure out how to get my stuff because I like to cook with my stuff.
Okay.
But regionally, yes, I do it regionally. I can do it, drive and make some things happen. I went to Detroit the other day and did one. I'm looking at doing something in Arkansas, like I said, in Kansas, possibly. So yeah, I'm willing to, and I'm building the structure to figure that out. Like, what do I take on the airplane to make me be able to cook and do this somewhere else? So I'm figuring it out. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I mean, if anybody else that's that's been watching got any other questions, please feel free to pop them in. I do have one final question, which is my favorite question every time I do this. So knowing what you know about yourself and the world and everything that you've gone through and experienced, what is something that you would tell your younger self?
Oh man, I love it. I see why you like this question. This is a good one. This is a good one. I would say, Jason, trust yourself. You know way more than you let on. You don't have to wait for the book to tell you, for a teacher to tell you, for an adult to tell you that what you already know. So go ahead and do it. Take the risk and live like you're supposed to live. You know who you are. And if you don't know, start finding out. Spend time in figuring out who you are, who you want to be, and make sure that you find a way to give and expect nothing in return, because you are divine and you are going to be blessed beyond your wildest dreams. So all the other things that are around you are just distractions. Be who you're supposed to be. Never looking too far back and never looking too far ahead. And just dominate the present while you are here and take one step at a time, because there is greatness in you. Act like it.
I love that. Yeah, no, that's fire. Since I haven't seen anybody else in the chat, Jason, please just hold on once we wrap this up. But I want to thank you for taking time to share with us your journey, giving us some strategies, giving us some insights from a administrative perspective as well as a parent. So again, I just super appreciate you taking the time and come on here with us and share information. And so without anything else, any final closing words?
Hey man, yeah. And anybody who's listening, anybody who's here, just remember how great you are, and you have a role in shaping what's next. Leave this place better than you found it.
Hats off to you. I definitely appreciate it. Please hold on for a second. And then, as always, we'll see you next month.